Hey guys, Sonic Eggman here reviewing the arcade classic, Wizard of Wor.
My method is stronger than your weapons, warrior.
There was a very special time in the 80s when sci-fi and fantasy crossed over into some sort of future past mashup that saw magic and lasers finally come together. Imagine Conan the Barbarian in space with a Dr. Doom looking bad guy with magical powers who talks like Stephen Hawking. And that's what I imagine inspired the 1980s arcade game Wizard of Wor, as well as maybe a few slices of space cake. I mean, look at the cover art. If that doesn't scream having your magical space cake and eating it too, I don't know what does. Released by Midway in 1980, this game places you in charge of one of two warriors who must clear a Pac-Man-like maze of weird creatures to eventually face off with the Wizard of Wor himself. The creatures you face are disturbing in that they're not quite cute and not quite terrifying. They bounce around harmlessly until you take enough of them out and then go kamikaze at crazy speeds. They also have the ability, or at least some of them, to turn invisible, which only adds to the terror as they recklessly move around the maze. It probably doesn't help that the only music in the game is the theme from the 1960s detective show Dragnet, played through an ominous synthesizer slowed down to a drone. I mean, listen to this spooky tune.
If you destroy my babies, I'll pop you in the oven.
Also, as if the slowly increasing in intensity levels wasn't enough to unsettle you, the Wizard of Wor, let's call him Tony so I'm not repeating myself a million times, smack talks you the entire time you play through any of the levels. The voice sounds evil. Tony threatens you for killing his babies, and not even getting an extra player is a joyous event. When it happens, Tony exclaims, "Another warrior to feed my babies," or something similar. I tell you, Tony is a real piece of work. Playing Wizard of Wor is best with another player as the game has friendly fire turned on. This means if your friend or annoying brother is getting on your nerves, you can just kill them, get the extra points, and move on with your day. The cool thing about this game is if you don't have any friends because you probably killed them too many times playing games like these, the computer picks up the slack and you get an AI buddy to help you out. Another awesome feature I loved about this game as a kid was the radar. It was the first I saw with a map showing the enemy positions and added an extra element of dread as the enemies popped in and out of view. Reportedly this game wasn't that popular as the famed Pac-Man fever was still in full effect when it was released. That meant that people didn't have time to play kiddie games involving space and wizards. They had to focus their attention on the limbless, jaundiced pallet muncher. The version of this game I grew up with was the Commodore 64, which is actually a surprisingly good arcade port. It was also ported to the Bally Astrocade, the Atari 5200, the 2600 and the Atari 8-bit. All of the ports are surprisingly good in terms of the various systems and are definitely worth checking out. I played this arcade version on my Xbox 360 copy of Midway Arcade Origins. The disc is a decent collection of games and a pretty cheap way to play arcade games on your modern day home consoles. Wizard of Wor is a unique game that you probably don't need to play, but I think you should just to try and understand why I keep calling it so creepy. There's something odd about this one that's really hard to explain unless you've played it alone late at night. It's like goddamn Tony, isn't it? That was my review of the arcade game Wizard of Wor. Thanks for watching guys. If you're feeling particularly retro, check out some of my other videos. Make sure you hit like and subscribe at the bottom and go play some retro games. Sonic Eggman out.